Congratulations on purchasing your animal skin tanning kit. My name is Adam Cowie and I will lead you through the processing steps needed for you to produce a tanned skin of lasting quality. The tanning of animal skins is one of the oldest professions in the world and has come a long way since the days of the cavemen. Back then, skins were air dried and worn for warmth, but once they got wet, they would putrefy and fall to pieces. Over time, it was found that by soaking skins in certain solutions of tree barks and leaves, the tannins were absorbed by the skin, and this led to the early vegetable tanning methods. It was also found that certain fats and oils from fish and animals gave the tanned skin some softness and water resistance. And so, over time, things progressed and man learnt new and better ways to turn an animal skin from a raw state into a tanned leather of good softness and durability, and most importantly, would not rot while being worn. The tanning process involves changing the structure of the collagen fibres through various stages to create a cross-linking or bonding of the chemicals to the collagen chains, and in doing so produces leather. Nowadays, there are many new and varying technologies in use depending on the type of leather being produced and the end use of that leather. The chemicals in this kit are most widely ones used around the world at present. They are easy to use and give a durable and soft final result that you can be proud of. The chemicals provided in this kit are relatively harmless in such small quantities. Yet in saying that, I would encourage you to wear the safety gear provided and use common sense when using the chemicals and disposing of the wash liquors. There is only enough chemical in each kit to tan the skin type required. Please use up all the chemicals at each stage in the process. The only chemical not provided in this kit is salt, of which you would generally need 4 kilos, and any old type of salt will do. I would encourage you to watch this DVD as I talk you through each stage of the process. These same stages are written in the written form as per the instruction sheets provided. As you go through each stage, ensure you do exactly as instructed so that you get a good final result. So let's begin to convert your raw skin into a tanned product that you can use for a very long time. Okay, so we've got sheepskin to tan. If you follow the instructions on this DVD along with the written instructions in your kit, you should get a good result. Here's our sheepskin, could either be frozen or salted. This particular one was frozen. Salted is good as well, it helps draw the blood out, helps it do that so that when you start the tanning process a lot of that blood has already been drawn out of the skin, but just whatever's really easiest for you, whether it's you can just roll it up and put it in your freezer once you've scun it off the animal, or salt it if you've got access to salt. So the first thing we have to do in step 1 on your instructions is to soak the skin back to its originally hydrated state. We're putting in a bactericide there just to help kill any bacteria that might be present in the skin and prevent any wool slip. Putting in a detergent to help wet the skin back, and also we will add in a hair setting chemical just to hold the hair and help prevent any wool slip. So obviously for a floor skin rug we don't want that to happen. So I put in 40 litres of water, 20 degrees, and then we add our skin to that, give it a good stir up, and it will soak overnight. Just give it a stirring occasionally. Any old sort of barrel will do, but this one, these are about 120 litres, and so they're quite good to use, and you can get them from second-hand stores or places like that, but any container that'll hold a fair amount of water. Okay, so we've soaked that overnight. It's back to its rehydrated state now. You can see there's a lot of dirty, just dirt, dung, blood and stuff coming out of the skin. Now I have to flesh the skin. You can drain off these liquors just down your drain. They're all sort of just biodegradable detergents and things in there. Or even better, probably just put it on your lawn. So this is the fleshing stage. Here I've got it over a wooden beam, as you can see, and I'm using a old style sort of fleshing knife. You don't want this knife too sharp, because you can end up making holes very easily. And on the other hand, you don't want it too blunt so that it doesn't actually cut anything. But you could just use a blunt knife, or even do it by hand if you had to. It's all about just getting the grease, and as much fat and as much meat off the skin as possible. Obviously, if the skin was well skun like this one is, there's not really a lot to take off. It's all been left on the carcass, which is great. So you just work your way around the skin, getting off any bits of fat mainly. It's important to get as much off as you can so that the chemicals will penetrate through later, and you can get a good tannage that is well penetrated. You could do this over a bench or a table or a barrel. Doesn't really matter. Just it's a matter of trying to find some way to pick all this flesh and meat off. Okay, so we've got our sheepskin there, got most of the flesh off, most of the fat and the meat. The wool's still quite dirty, but we'll wash that out now, get the cleaner. Right, so we're going to give the sheepskin a good wash in 35-degree water. It's important not to go over 35 degrees, as you can actually shrink the skin. It will shrink at about 40 degrees and become quite rubbery. So yeah, please don't use hot water. 35 degrees maximum. So we've got our 40 litres there. Just going to chuck in some detergent and some alkali, and that solution will just help draw the blood and fat and grease out of the skin, and also help clean the wool and take out just the grubbiness out of the wool. So give that a good stir around for a good 10 or 15 minutes. You can see here that the water's becoming quite cloudy, quite dirty. That's a good sign. You can see that all that dirt and just contamination is coming out of the wool, and the wool is slowly getting cleaner, and also be dragging the grease out of the skin. So we're going to take that out now, just squeeze that off, tip out that dirty water. Again, just tip it onto your lawn or something like that. Now we're just going to rinse that skin off again just with cold water, just to take out the excess detergent and grease that might be still just sitting on the surface. Going to put in a little bit more detergent there just to help clean the wool. Because this is quite a particularly dirty skin. And it'll also just help hold the grease off the surface of the skin so that it can be tipped out and removed from the skin. Okay, so we just give that a good stir around. You can see there the wool's becoming quite clean now with the detergent, and that's what we want. We want a nice white wool at the end of it, so it's quite important here that they do get plenty of mechanical action by your stirring to make sure that you can get them as clean as possible. Okay, so that's our rinse that we've done after our degreasing stage. Now we have to make up a pickle solution. Pickle is the first major stage prior to tanning, where the skin becomes semi-preserved. It involves salt and acid. So what we're doing here is we're filling up our 40 litres of water, cold water, and we're going to add that to the barrel and add the salt to that and dissolve that up. Okay, so just you'll need 4 kilos of salt for this. The salt's not provided with the kit, but you can just use any old salt. And it's important now that this is stirred really vigorously so that the salt is fully dissolved. And then we will add the skin to this solution, and then the diluted acid solution to this. If the salt is not dissolved fully, there is a chance of acid swell, which will cause the skin to become quite rubbery. So it is quite important that you have the ratio of salt to water correct, being 4 kilos of salt to 40 litres of water, and that all the salt is dissolved. So it will require a bit of stirring, but yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, so we put our sheepskin into the salt solution. That's all dissolved now. Give that a bit of a stir around, and then we'll add our diluted acid to that as well. Make sure you've got your gloves and your safety glasses on for this. And we just stir that round, and it will sit for the next 2 or 3 days, just stirring it occasionally to make sure that pickle acid penetrates the skin. Okay, that's set for 2 or 3 days now, and the pickle will have penetrated. So now we're going to put our tanning solutions, add that to the pickle solution. The first one there is the softening oil. It will help give the skin some final softness once it's dry. Just stir that in, and then we add each tanning liquid solution provided in your kit. And this will, we'll just stir this occasionally for at least 3 days. Use all the chemical in the kit when you're doing this, and just make sure that your water ratios, the right amount of water is in the barrel. So you can see there it's looking pretty clean. Tanning solutions in there now, and we just keep stirring that on a regular basis over the next few days. Right, we've taken that out of the tanning solution. It's just drained overnight, so it's just damp now, and it's fully tanned. It's a white tannage we're using on this. It's a synthetic tanning agents. You will feel that the sheepskin itself will feel quite dry, and it will have a different sort of feel about it, more of a leathery feel. So now we're just going to tack it out to dry, and our skin will be finished. Here I'm using just an old pallet, but yeah, on a board or a wall. Pallets are quite good because it can breathe through the back as well, so it helps dry the wool out at the same time. It's important that you just dry it out gradually slow drying is better than a harsh hot drying. You can see there I'm just nailing it, stretching it out and setting. This is where you set the size of the skin or the way you want it to look, so try and keep it as symmetrical as possible. Again, that will sort of depend on how well it was skun as to how it shapes up. So just tacking in the front legs there, and then we'll go down to the neck and spread that out. Try and keep it under tension as tight as possible so that it dries nice and flat. If you have it tacked out on a board or wall and the wool isn't quite dry, then you may have to leave it out in the sun once the pelt is dry. But that's what it's going to look like tacked out, and we'll just leave that for a few days to slowly dry off. Right, it's dry now, so we're at the last stage of the process really. And just for cosmetic reasons, I'm just trying to use a sander here to buff off any rough bits of flesh that might be still left on the skin. You can use this or a wire brush, or just to try and make it look a bit tidier really. Obviously, if it's going onto your floor, you're not going to notice the back of it so much, but still it can still make it just look a little bit nicer on the final result. A wire brush will do the same sort of thing, just tidies it up. Right, so we'll just take those nails out now. So there's our skin ready to take, all taken off, nice and dry. Now we just want to trim it up, try and get it looking quite symmetrical, quite shapely for a floor rug. So we just trim around the sides there. Sometimes you get a little bit of straggly bits or a little bit of matting on the sides. Just tidies that up. if you're doing this for a floor rug, usually the ideal sort of length of wool you want would be sort of 8 centimeters or 2.5 inches, 6 to 8 centimeters. Anything that gets a bit longer than that can just not look quite as nice or not brush up quite as nice. Obviously anything shorter could be used for, you know, car seats or saddle blankets or things like that. But when you're using this method and in a barrel like this, I mean, you can do any type of sheepskin with this process. You can see this one's quite a long wool sheepskin, probably sort of 10 to 12 centimeters, probably 3 or 4 inches long on the wool. But the final result will still look quite nice. So there's the skin trimmed up. Now we just need to try and soften it up a bit. Here we're just working it with our hands, working around the edges, just stretching it, pulling it, roughing it up, and this will just break the fibres up and give it some softness. You could do this over a corner of a table or a bench, just pulling down on it, trying to just stretch those fibres out and get the softness back into it after being pulled tight on the board. It's not looking too bad now. So now we have to tidy up the wall side. This just involves giving a good brush, picking out little bits of flesh or any sort of seed heads that might be stuck in the wall. Just helps take out any wee tugs or knots that might be in it, just to get it looking nice. As you can see there, it's not too bad, it's nice and soft. And there, we're pretty much done. Congratulations, one sheepskin rug.